Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are two great friends from the music community. Dr. Michael Conrad from the University of Northern Iowa, who I saw just recently in Corridor Jazz Project, as he is a perennial guest artist. Mike, good to see you.
Great to see you too.
And from Professor Emeritus from Central College in Pella, Gabriel Espinoza. Gabriel, good to see you.
Indeed. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
You two have collaborated on a new project. I started to call it an album, not really an album. We'll dive into that in just a minute. But Gabriel, why don't you start by telling us about what the genesis of this project was to put some of your original tunes to big band music?
Yeah. What happened is in 2008, that's the first time I applied to the Iowa Arts Council to get some funds to make my own recording in New York. And I was lucky enough to get some funds from the Iowa Arts Council, and the project came out, and it was a great success. After that, perhaps I tried in 2012, in 2015, in 2018, in 2020. 2022, I try again to present to the Iowa Arts Council again a project, until I ask myself, there's something that wrong that I'm doing. I'm not doing something right, because I tried 5 times and they have said no, especially after I applied the first time when I had nothing. And after that, I had 6 albums. But there's something that I'm doing that I'm not doing right. So that's when something came to my head and said, collaboration. It's all about collaboration. And I said, okay, I get it. And the first name that came to mind was collaboration with Mike Conrad. So we applied to the Iowa Arts Council, and we got enough funds to make 5 tracks.
But this is not going to be, you're not calling it an album or an EP. You're releasing these on YouTube, correct?
For now, it is going to be released as YouTube videos, correct? Because that's what we proposed to the Iowa Arts Council. They were going to be recorded, released on YouTube video, and go to radio stations, go to media, and advertise it as a project, but not a recording, not a CD. Especially today, it's a little bit tricky talking about a CD.
Yeah, KCCK is one of the few places that asks for CDs these days. We're old school where that's concerned, but if we can find good music, we'll figure out a way to play it. That is the case, and certainly going to be the case with this as well. When were the recordings done?
I believe it was in November that we did this.
Early November, yeah.
Yeah. So I had a gig on the calendar for the Iowa Jazz Composers Orchestra playing at Noche in Des Moines. And most of the band that is playing on these recordings is that band. We used Tim Crumley on drums, who is a longtime collaborator of Gabriel's. But otherwise, it's pretty much the IJCO with maybe a couple subs in there. So we had this opportunity to play this gig and play a couple of these charts on that gig, and also meet early in Des Moines for a rehearsal of this music. So we had it in good shape for the recording session, which was the next day. So the gig was on a Friday evening, and then we went to Cedar Falls Catamount Recording Studios, where I've recorded a trio album and previous IJCO projects and a whole bunch of other things. And working with Travis there at Catamount is always a treat. It's a great sounding space. Gabriel commented just being in the room listening to the band rather than being in the control room. He just loved to hear the live sound of the band in that room. So it was, the first weekend of November. We got all 5 tracks recorded in one day.
So, Mike, Gabriel comes to you and says, I want to do some big band arrangements of my songs. How familiar were you with Gabriel's music prior to taking a look at these charts?
I've known his music for a long time. I don't know if he remembers, but I played piano in his group Ashanti as a sub, I think for Jason Danielson, a festival in Wisconsin, in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. So that's when I became more familiar with it, just learning his songs for that festival performance. And I was just struck by the beauty of his melodies and just how singable and everything is, but always with a couple of interesting twists and turns that really keeps you engaged, I think. And it was maybe in 2017 that Gabriel asked me to write a big band arrangement of one of his pieces. And ever since then, there's been a couple of years later, he'd say, what do you think about maybe doing a couple more? And we've just kept this collaboration going. And at a certain point, he realized we have a body of work here that would be worth trying to capture. And I made one more new one for him with a brand new piece that he wrote just this last year. But otherwise, it was existing arrangements that have, trickled through over the last 7 years or so.
Gabriel, the release, like I said, the title of the project is called Maya Roots. We've talked many times over the years, and I've seen you more times than I can count. But characterize your music for us along that spectrum of Latin American music that goes all the way from the salsa to the samba. Since you call this Mayan Roots, how your compositions over the years have reflected all the aspects of your heritage.
Okay, this is a surprise for Mike because when we applied, I think we have to give a name to the project. Mike, I think we call it like Amigos or something like that, just to put a name, and that has been floating. Now, the reason you saw the post that I put with Maya Roots, it is a purposely planned post because the videos are supposed to come out this week. Okay, we're supposed to get the videos from the video guide this week, and I said it would be great to release the first track, which is called Maya Roots, on March 21st, which is the equinox day. And that's when people go to Chichen Itza. That's why I use that photo. And there's a great thing that happens in Chichen Itza when the sun crosses the middle of the planet, and the stairs of the castle create the shape of a snake. And at the bottom, you have the head of the snake. So I said, what a great thing to release the first track, Maya Roots, on March 21st.
Okay, I apologize for misunderstanding that.
No, that's
but
okay.
My question still stands. Talk to me about where your music falls along the continuum of Latin music.
Yeah, what happens is that I come basically from a 6'8" meter. Talking about my roots, we don't come from the bossa nova, and we don't come from the swing. I come from the 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. That's our beat. That's the Mayan beat. The folkloric music in Yucatan is a 6'8" groove. So that's my heritage. So the combination of the Mayan rhythms, we have a song in 6'8" and we have a song in 3/4, and the other songs are in 4/4. So the heritage, mainly with Maya Roots, is rooted right there. And that's why that's like the first song we would like to put out is that one, because it creates a reflection of my roots in particular as a composer.
It's a beautiful tune, by the way. I love that one. And I think you can tell me if you agree, Gabriel, but I think the big band arrangement of Maya Roots in particular maybe makes the best use of the full ensemble as an orchestra. There's some big moments, especially the ending. And Ed East played percussion on this track as well as one of the other tracks, which really added a lot to that kind of folkloric groove that Gabriel was talking about.
Yeah, Dennis, and the most amazing thing about this project for a composer is very interesting for me to see the work of the arranger taking my song and extend the sound of my music and create his own sound and interpret my composition in a way that he sees it from here, not from me. So the process of the arranger for me is magical. And the results of the arrangements of Mike Conrad were amazing. They could not have been any better. They are so feeling of the idea of the sound that I had in my head that he surpassed that for me. So I was extremely happy. Like he said, I was inside the recording studio. You could not believe how happy I felt when those guys were playing those beautiful arrangements.
Mike and I have had this conversation before, and I also have it with Tim Hankiewicz from Orchestra Iowa, and Steve Shanley, both of whom are extremely talented arrangers in addition to composers, that as incredible a talent as composing new music is, the talent of arranging, taking somebody else's original musical ideas and spreading them out over new instruments is equally as impressive a talent.
Yeah.
When the source material is good, like it is in this case, it's easy in a way. It's because it inspires you to see all these possibilities that you could take with it. And there's good structure already to the composition. It makes sense. It requires a great deal of trust on the part of Gabriel in this case to hand over his piece to me. And some musicians would maybe be a little bit too controlling or a little too precious about their piece or have too rigid an idea of what they want to be done with it. And he was not that way at all. He gave me lots of space and freedom.
There are 5 songs that are going to be coming out. Now, will you drop all 5 of those at once, or are you going to dribble them out over a period of time?
I would think we would do one at a time.
I've heard 2 of the songs, and they're just spectacular. It's exactly what you said, Mike. When the musical ideas you start off with are great, then there's almost no way that the arrangements can't just expand and enhance what's already there. So I've heard the first couple. I'm looking forward to hearing the rest. I think that, matter of fact, we have Maya Roots queued up and ready to go. We're going to hear that just after this interview is over. And I'll just put out, I think you should entitle the project Maya Roots.
Okay. We're open.
Hey, this guy knows a thing or two about the radio and albums, and yeah.
The graphic that you sent with Chichen Itza and all of that, I hope people get a chance to see that out too, because it's a beautiful picture, and it makes me think of Gabriel's music.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So 5 big band arrangements of the music of Gabriel Espinoza. Look for them soon on your socials. If people want to seek these out as they come out, Gabriel, what's the best way to do that?
Right now, we're in the process of finalizing the project. I think the YouTube idea, everybody can have access to YouTube.
Do you have a YouTube channel of your own, Gabriel?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. Now, if for any reason we are lucky enough after we start releasing this and people start asking for an album, hopefully there's a donor out there that would sponsor the next 5, and then we can make an album. We're open.
Yes, please. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. One idea that Gabriel had was we'd love to publish these arrangements. We'll hopefully get the music out there for big bands around the world to perform.
Yes.
Hopefully this is just the beginning. As I said, I've heard the first couple. I'm really excited to get them out there so that people can hear them on the radio and also watch the videos on YouTube. Look up Gabriel Espinoza's YouTube channel to watch them yourself and listen for them on KCCK. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being with me today.
Thank you,
Dennis.
Thank you.
You can hear The Culture Crawl live on the radio most weekdays at 10:30, on demand at kcck.org/culture, or subscribe using your favorite podcast player. Watch our videos on the KCCK Facebook and YouTube channels. Our producer is Lydia Kilgore. The Culture Crawl theme is composed by Vivian Shanley. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.